Tara, good afternoon.
Hey Jeff, how are you going?
Not too bad. How's the week been treating you? Are you still mulling over the topics that we engaged last week?
Yeah, I am actually. Yeah, I've had some really in the small amount of time that I have where I can actually think about other things outside of parenting and life and work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've really been mulling over a few things, and I'm interested actually to have a chat with you about them, whether it's today or another time. I definitely
No, I'm, like what we talked about, Tara, let's just let it be, because I'm also very curious to see, was there something that really stuck in your mind when we had that conversation last week? Or
Yeah, there was. So I guess, we had that discussion about learning to detach from, I guess, ideas, concepts, things, emotions, people,
everything,
right? Everything
Yep.
in life.
Yep.
Okay. And so I kind of took that away and I thought about it and I thought, how would this work in my life if I were to do this, right? And one, I couldn't quite see a future in which I would have the capacity to do it, if I was going to be entirely honest.
Yeah.
But also it became a thought process of, well, then how do you attribute meaning? So for me, I guess in my life, meaning is so vital to everything I do. Literally, my life, my world, every aspect of who I am revolves around a sense of meaning. And so I thought, well, if we detach from all things, does that mean we detach from our ability to derive or find or designate meaning in our lives? And so I guess that's where I was in a bit of a conundrum. I was like, well, can you have a meaningful life while also being detached from everything in life? And
it is a contradiction.
Yeah, like I didn't come to a conclusion.
Okay. What's your definition of a meaningful life, Tara?
Well, so this was the next step in my thought process was,
okay,
well, who defines meaning, right?
Exactly.
What is meaning, and how do we attribute meaning, and how do we find meaning, and what does meaning actually mean? And so you can see I went through a rabbit hole just trying to work out what all of that meant. And then again, bring it back to, how do we have a life filled with meaning while also
detaching yourself from everything else?
Yeah.
Okay. I knew there was something coming up in your mind, right? Why is meaning so important to you, Tara?
I guess it's the point of everything for me, right?
Okay.
It's the beginning and kind of end of everything for me. So years ago, I read the book, I think it was Man's Search for Happiness by Viktor Frankl. I don't know if you know
I've heard of the title, Tara, but I've never read the book.
Yeah, it's written by a man who was a Holocaust survivor. So he was in a concentration camp. I think his wife,
right. Yes, I think I downloaded the Kindle sample actually briefly.
Oh yeah, you should read it. It's a great book. But and he he talks about when he was in this concentration camp, and I can't remember which one it was.
Yeah.
He was a psychologist, I believe, before he went in there into the concentration camp, and he watched and tried to work out what differentiated those that survived from those who didn't. And he said, there were people who were in exactly the same circumstances, who could be in the exact same health condition, but some continued to make it through and some didn't. And kind of what he discovered was that man could endure anything as long as there was meaning to what he was going through, right? Which is a big call to make when you're sitting in a concentration camp. Like, to find meaning in that moment would be really definitive for your life, but for a lot of people's lives, right?
It's also hope.
Yeah. Well, but is hope and meaning the same thing? Like, is it, because I'm asking the tough questions, aren't I? It's like,
no, this is brilliant, Tara. Okay, so getting back to this person who was in the concentration camp.
Yeah. So he essentially came to the conclusion that, in life, you can go through anything and you can endure it and you can survive it as long as there's meaning to it, right? And life is ultimately a game of survival, isn't it? Like, you know, we're kids, you know, we're forging our path in this forest of unknown entities. Like we don't know our path, we don't know what we're doing, we're relying on others. You become a teenager again, you're going through those you know, life-defining identity moments. You get married, you have kids again. All of these phases of life are difficult, right? In some way or form.
They are.
Maybe childhood, sometimes, depending on who you are, can be the least so. Sometimes it can be the worst part of it. But we get through it because there's a sense of meaning or a sense of purpose to it, right?
Correct.
And so when we withdraw from engaging with meaning or purpose, how does that then impact the way we live our life?
Okay, so just confirming, Tara, how can a person have meaning of life if he or she does not attach him or herself to the meaning? Is that correct? Is that the question?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I think
Now
that's
I know last week we talked about it. So I think it's important I give you a bit of how I sort of see attachment. Now, when I say attachment, Tara, I mean attachment in the sense that I see things as very transient. And for me, since life is so transient, and you might hear me say the phrase, this too will pass. Now, in times when it's good, when times it's bad, right? I know inevitably that this will pass. So therefore, I do not attach myself too much to the good times and the bad times. Now, when it comes to meaning, I have two thoughts here, Tara, right? You know how last week we talked about me sort of enjoying it day by day?
Yeah.
Now, if I enjoy things day by day, I therefore do not think about tomorrow.
Yeah.
If I don't think about tomorrow, that means there is no preconceived notion of what that meaning is. Does that make sense, Tara?
Yeah.
So keep in mind, I'm trying to articulate it as well, because it's actually got me thinking when it got you thinking, it then got me thinking, right? So now the question is, do I believe in there is a meaning of life? So like I said, there's school thoughts here in my mind. There's one side of me that says, you know what, there's no meaning to life.
Yeah.
And we humans, we complicate things. We try to attribute meaning because that will give us purpose in life. For me, it's important to me, Tara, but what's more important to me is that I live day by day.
Yeah.
And whether that negates having that meaning, you know, one could then surmise that that's probably the case, right?
Yeah, I think that, yes, because I think, to me, when I think of meaning, it's retrospective and it's forward thinking, right? Meaning is almost never expressed in the present, right?
Correct.
So
exactly.
So your concept of living in the present, then I'm like, well, then how, if you try to live a life where you avoid retrospect and you avoid thinking ahead in the future,
correct,
how do you then and I guess, how do you feel like, because meaning as well, it doesn't have to be an ultimate meaning of life. It could be a meaning for an experience that you're having, or the meaning of the love that you have for your children, or the drive and passion you feel in your career, or what have you, whatever it might be, right? Meaning can be small as well as large, right? But it is always retrospectively understood and I guess futuristically placed, because we're looking at, how is this in the past? How is this now benefiting my purpose or my understanding or my comprehension of my present state and my future state? So I guess,
I think for me, so meaning to me, Tara, in the context of living day by day, when I say meaning, I for me, it's about what is my purpose here in this world.
Mm.
And to
Yeah.
me, that's what I would define meaning would be.
Yeah.
And when we first chatted, Tara, I was curious to see what your definition of meaning is.
Mm.
Because like what you said, right, it could mean many different things, right?
Yeah.
In my sense, in terms of how I live my life, I see meaning as why am I here? What's my
Mm.
purpose in life? Now,
Yeah.
since I live day by day, my meaning is within that day. Don't get me
Okay.
wrong, right? I still plan for the future.
Yeah.
I still have dreams in a sense of doing X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
But fundamentally, that's less important. What's more important is that I just stay in the present.
Okay, so you're looking at life as day-type compartments, right?
I
Like,
see life as now.
yeah, yeah, and I think that's I think it's a beautiful thing, and I think, and as I said to you the other day, that when we discussed it, it's like a nigh on impossible thing for the majority of the population, right? Like it's a difficult place to get to.
It is a surreal feeling sometimes, Tara.
Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
It's sometimes, don't get me wrong, Tara, it doesn't, it's not all the time, right?
Yeah.
I will have my days where, like, for example, I was late, Tara, to this conversation. And I would be lying to you if I wasn't kicking myself going, oh man, how am I going to resolve that leak issue tomorrow?
Yeah.
But then I need to pull myself back and go, you know what? What's done is done for today.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually on a conversation with my property manager.
Yeah.
And she was absolutely bamboozled about what was happening. So it got me over time. And needless to say, I was quite ruffled up myself before I got into this conversation. But I'm very thankful that I know that in 2 minutes' time, I'm talking to Tara.
Yeah.
So by thinking of you, you then alerted me to take myself back into the present and to give my attention to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it takes time to be able to get in, get out. But yes, what I'm sharing with you, I believe is the ultimate gift.
Yeah.
It is,
So
yeah.
can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So, you know, you've mentioned that you prepare for the past, for the future. Sorry, you prepare for the future.
I plan.
You have ideas and you know, pursuits that you know that you want to fulfill in the future at some point.
Correct.
And I understand that you've got the ability to detach from them or understand that they may change or that life will continue to evolve in a way that they may happen or they may not.
Correct.
Now, the future is like this really ephemeral concept, right? Like it doesn't exist yet. It's not solid. No. It's not defined. It's not organized. It's this open space that we can live, be, pursue, do whatever we want in it. But the antithesis of that is that the past is solid and defined and fulfilled. And so my question to you would be, in the way that you live, do you take time to review the past? Or to you, is that, like you said, well, what's done is done. I can't do anything about it. Or is there times where you take stock of your day or the day before or the week before or the year or 10 years before and
good question.
Think on that? Yeah.
Think on it in the sense of reflecting, Tara?
Yeah. Yeah. On reflecting. Yeah. Because I think reflection is the basis of reviewing the past that then leads to meaning or understanding. And I'll explain my kind of concept of meaning to you as well, but I'm interested to know how you deal with the past.
I suppose with the past, Tara, I agree. if one were to study history and one were to look at the past, you can learn quite a lot. I do reflect.
Yeah.
I do see what has happened. I do understand it. But I suppose for me, I don't attach myself to the past. I take the learnings and I bring it back into the present.
Yeah.
So that's how I deal with the past. But overall, like what you said, past is past. What's done is done.
Yeah.
And being human, a human is a human, right, Tara?
Yeah.
This state doesn't last indefinitely, Tara. I am human. But I suppose I'm thankful in the sense that I do recognize when I do slip into the past, or do I get too into the future, I need to bring myself back.
Yeah.
So that has come through, I don't know, experience, training myself. That's how I deal with the past. It's past, it's gone. I leave it as it is. I still reflect. I still will learn, because history does repeat itself, right?
Yes. Yes.
So I need to learn from it.
Yeah.
Now, in an odd way, right? Now, if you ask me what tool do I use to help me stay in the present? Now, you're probably going to laugh at me when I say
I
this,
won't.
right?
I promise.
Now, this tool has had such a profound effect on me, right? It's only recently that it dawned on me as to why it's working so well. Now, have you got an iPhone, Tara, or have you got an Android
I
phone?
do.
You got an iPad.
iPhone.
Do you use the Apple iOS reminders app?
No.
Okay, I do, right? Now, when I
Okay.
use it, right, I've got categories in terms of shares, crypto, investments, fun, kids, education, the median podcasts, consulting, for example, right?
Yeah.
And when I open up the app in the morning, I only see, tasks that I do today.
Yeah.
That keeps me in the present. If you go to me, Tara, that, I'm still looking forward to it. When you come to meet your mom, in the area again, right? I'm looking forward to seeing you in person where we grab a coffee, right?
Yeah.
But when that time comes, that's a reminder I put, I don't know, in 3 weeks' time, right? It's out of my head now.
Yeah.
That's in the future. I focus on the present. So in a weird sort of way, using this reminders app has been a very interesting tool to allow me to just focus on what I need to do today.
Yeah.
If there is a problem that I need to deal with, for example, the leak, for example, right? I've done what I've done today, i.e. speak to the property manager.
Yeah.
When tomorrow comes around, it's tomorrow's problem.